ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste, my dear friends. This is video number 5 on Ashtavakra Gita. Ashtavakra Gita is a most important treatise on Advaita Vedanta. The sadhakas, if they follow the teachings of Ashtavakra Gita, easily they can realize their self and even achieve liberation. I start this video with chapter 5, 4 ways to self-realization. Ashtavakra Uvacha Nete Sango Asti Kenapi Kim Sudaste Yuktmichasi Sangahat Vilyam Kurvanmev Layam Vraj. Ashtavakra said, you have no contact with anything whatsoever. Therefore, pure as you are, what do you want to renounce? Destroy the complex and even thus enter into the state of dissolution. This chapter describes 4 different ways for the realization of the absolute state. The first verse speaks of being asanga, unattached. The second of looking upon the universe as the same reality as the self. There is only one Atman. The third of considering the phenomenal universe as illusory. And the fourth of remaining unaffected by the phenomena of the universe, internal and external. Any of these 4 outlooks will lead to the realization of the absolute. What, etc. We renounce what we are attached to, but the pure self is unattached, complete. The aggregate of the body, mind, intellect, the senses, etc. We are at present identifying the self with all these and thus making them exist. This identification prevents us from realizing the self. The moment we shall destroy this identification, we shall merge in the absolute. Thus, by destroying the complex dissolution, the state in which no phenomena exist, the absolute. Verse number 2 of chapter 5. Udeti bhavato visvam varidheru budbudh iti gyatvaik matma mev levraj. The universe rises from you like bubbles rising from the sea. Thus know the Atma to be one and enter even thus into the state of dissolution, like etc. Thus showing that the reality of the phenomenal world is no other than the self itself. Thus the knowledge that Atma alone exists negates the phenomenal world and thus the absolute is realized. Stanza 3. प्रत्यक्षम् अप्यवस्तुत्वा विश्वं नास्ते मले तवि रज्जु सर्प इव व्यक्तमेव leverage. The universe being manifested like the snake in the rope does not exist in you who are pure, even though it is present to the senses, because it is unreal. Thus, verily do you enter into the state of dissolution, manifested, etc. This classical example of the snake in the rope indicates that the universe, which has been superimposed on the self, is really non existent, pure. The illusion of the world can never affect the self, thus, having known the universe to be non real. Stanza 4. सुख दुख सुख पूर्ण आशा निराशयो समः समजीवित मृत्यु सन्नेव मेव लयम वृज. You are perfect and equanimous in misery and happiness, hope and despair, and life and death. Therefore, even thus do you attain the state of dissolution. Verses 1 to 3 deal with the dissolution of the external world. This verse deals with the dissolution of the internal world, the world of thought and feelings. We are affected by joy and sorrow, hope and despair, and life and death as long as we consider ourselves as imperfect, as other than the self. The moment we know ourselves as the Atman, which alone is perfect, we go beyond all pairs of opposites and are unaffected by them and thus realize our free nature. Chapter 6. The Higher Knowledge. Ashtavakra Uvach. Akas Vadanto Ahim Ghatvat Prakirtan Jagat Iti Jnanam Tathaitasya न त्यागो निग्रहो ल. Ashtavakra said, boundless as space am I. The phenomenal world is like a jar. This is knowledge, so it has neither to be renounced nor accepted nor destroyed. Phenomenal prakrita, evolved out of prakriti, like etc. Just as a jar contains a space which is the same as the infinite space, so the universe with its manifold name and form contains a reality which is identical with the Atman. This etc. The sage Ashtavakra speaks in this chapter of a higher outlook. In the previous chapter, he spoke of Laya, of the need and methods of going beyond the relative consciousness into the absolute. But even this attempt at Laya rises out of a vestige of ignorance, for the pure self was never at any time bound. Here he speaks of that higher outlook to which the universe and its consciousness is no longer a bondage and does not therefore require to be transcended. That is to say, the universe to this view reveals itself as being of the same substance as the Atman itself. All is now the self. As Sri Ramakrishna said, till we have reached the roof, we negate the stairs as something other than the roof. But when we have reached the roof, we find that the stairs and the roof are of the same material. So, when this knowledge has been attained, there is then only the one self. The question of renouncing, accepting, or destroying anything does not arise. It, the phenomenal world, accepted. We then do not feel attached to the world. Destroyed. We then do not require to negate it as something other than Atma. Stanza 2 of chapter 6. महोदधिरीवाहं स प्रपञ्चो विचिसन्निभ्य इति हि ज्ञानं तत्थैतस्य न त्यागो न ग्रहो ल. That I am like the ocean and the phenomenal universe is like the wave, this is knowledge. So it has neither to be renounced nor accepted nor destroyed, like etc. This example makes clearer the oneness of the self and the universe, both same substance like ocean and its wave. Stanza 3 of chapter 6. Ahem se sukti sankasho रूपवद्वी द्विस्वकल्पना iti jnanam tathaitasya न त्यागो न ग्रहो ल. That I am like mother of pearl and the world projection is like silver. This is knowledge, so it has neither to be renounced nor accepted nor destroyed, like etc. The reality behind the silver illusion is the pearl oyster. Even so, the reality of the universe is the self itself. Stanza 4. अहम वा सर्वभूतेषु सर्वभूतान्यथो मयि इति ज्ञानं तथैतस्य न त्यागो न ग्रहो ल. I am indeed in all beings and all beings are in me. This is knowledge, so it has neither to be renounced nor accepted nor destroyed. I, etc. I am the inner substance of all beings, all, etc. I am the substratum of the universe. This verse also indicates that the reality of the self and of the phenomena are not different. The Atman is both the content and the container of the universe. Chapter 7. Disciples' Realization. Janak Uwach. मयंत महाबौद्धो विश्वपोत इतस्ततः भ्रमति स्वांतवातेन न ममास्त सहिष्णुता. Janak said, in me the boundless ocean, the arc of the universe, moves hither and thither, impelled by the wind of its own nature. I am not impatient, affected. When the wind rises in the ocean, it tosses a ship hither and thither and even sends it down through its impact. But the ocean is not affected by the movements of the ship. Even so, the universe, which rests on the reality of the self, is ever changing under the impulsion of its inherent laws. But the changing world does not affect the self in the least. Stanza 2. मय्यंत महाबौद्धो जगद्वीची स्वभावतः उदेतु वास्तव यातु नेमे वर्धिनर च अक्स्ति. In me, the limitless ocean, let the wave of the world rise or vanish of itself. I neither increase nor decrease thereby of itself by its own nature. A wave is no other than the water of the ocean itself. Only name and form have been added. There is no increase of substance. Even so is the world. Its reality is Brahman itself. So when the world appears, name and form are superimposed on the reality of Brahman, and when it disappears, name and form vanish. The reality is ever the same. Stanza 3. मैं अनंत महाबौद्धो विश्वम नाम विकल्पना अति शांतो निराकार एतदेवा हम मा स्थितः. In me, the boundless ocean is the imagination of the universe. I am highly tranquil and formless. In this alone do I abide. This, namely, the knowledge that the world is merely an appearance and that the self in which it appears remains ever calm and formless. Stanza 4. नात्मा भावेषु नो भावस्तत्रान्ते निरञ्जने इत शक्तो स्पृह शांत एतदेवाहमास्थितः. The self is not in the object, nor is the object in that which is infinite and stainless. Thus it is free from attachment and desire and tranquil. In this alone do I abide. Self, etc. The self is all pervasive and infinite, and cannot therefore be contained by finite objects such as body, mind, etc., nor etc. in an absolute sense, for the self is infinite, that is, cannot have anything to do with any finite object, and stainless, that is, cannot have any marks of limitation. The self is neither the container nor the contained, for nothing else really exists. The world appears through ignorance. Stanza 5. Aho chinmatrmeva indriyajalopam jagat ato mam katham kutra heyopade kalpana. Oh, I am really consciousness itself. The world is like a juggler's show. So how and where can there be any thought of rejection and acceptance in me? A man of self-realization looks upon this world as a juggler's show, false and illusory, and having no existence even when it is visible to him. As such, he can have no attraction or repulsion for any object whatsoever of the world. Chapter 8. Bondage and Liberation. Ashtavakra Uvach. Tada bandho yada chittam किश्चिद्वाच्छति शोचति किश्चित् मुच्यति गृहाति किश्चित् दृश्यति कुप्यति. Ashtavakra said, it is bondage when the mind desires or grieves at anything, rejects or accepts anything, feels happy or angry at anything. Stanza 2. Tada muktir yada chittam ne vachati ne shochati ne muchyati ne grihayati ne harshyati ne kupyati. Liberation is attained when the mind does not desire or grieve or reject or accept or feel happy or angry. Desiring, grieving, etc. are the modifications of the chitta, the mind stuff, which may be likened respectively to ripples and a lake. The bottom of the lake is, as it were, our own true self. We can catch a glimpse of the bottom only when the water is calm and clear and there are no waves. If the water is muddy or agitated, the body will not be seen. Likewise, as long as there are mental modifications which are possible only so long as we identify ourselves with them, we cannot see the self and are in ignorance and bondage. But when the mind is calm and free from such modifications, we realize our true nature and thus attain liberation. This is from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, chapter 1, stanza 2. Stanza 3. Tada bandho yada chittam saktam kasvapi drishtishu tada moksho yada chittam makstam sarvadrishtishu. It is bondage when the mind is attached to any particular sense organ. It is liberation when the mind is not attached to any of the sense organs. In the preceding two verses, bondage and freedom have been explained as identification with and disassociation from the internal mental modification. Here they are being explained in reference to external objects. Sense organ drishti means sight or the sense of seeing, and hence any instrument of perception, any sense organ. This is from Gita chapter 2 stanza 67. Stanza 4. Yada na ham tada moksho, yada ham bandhanam tada matveti helya kinchit ma grahan vimuchma. When there is no I, there is liberation. When there is I, there is bondage. Considering thus, easily refrain from accepting or rejecting anything. Egoism is bondage, constituting as it does the identification of the self with body, mind, etc. And egolessness is liberation. When there is no ego, there is no identification of the self with mind, body, etc. And the self is realized as one without a second, pervading the whole universe. Having this knowledge, one becomes perfectly tranquil and free from desire or aversion for anything. At this stage, I complete this video. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Namaste. Next video number 6, I will start with chapter 9, detachment. Thank you. Namaste. Namaskar.